Hey everybody, and welcome to the weekly scopes from the 7th to the 13th of September. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's weekly scopes. If you've heard this before, you can skip, but this is just the intro on how I formulate these astrology weekly readings. I use astrology and my intuition to give you advice how you can practically use the knowledge of the stars and the planets and apply them to your life. So my weekly scopes are all based on GMT time and on Vedic Constellational Astrology. So now I'm just going to explain what Vedic Constellational Astrology is and how it differs from Western astrology. So the precession of the equinox is sort of like something that happens in astronomy and astrology, where the Earth's axis undergoes a slow circular motion over 26,000 years, and basically this means that this motion causes a shift in the position of the equinoxes, and also the calculation Vedic and Western astrologies use. So around 2,000 years ago, the tropical and sidereal Vedic astrology signs of astrology were aligned in the same position. So if the sun was in Scorpio in Vedic astrology, it was also in the constellation of Scorpio in Western astrology. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, this has caused a gradual westward sort of like drift of the tropical Western signs. So basically these signs and the Western signs shift 1 degree with every 72 years. So as a result of this ongoing shift, when Western astrology says the sun is in the constellation of Pisces, it's typically in the constellation of Aquarius. Still, this is because the degree, orb and the date for Western and Vedic astrology are 24 degrees, 24 days apart. So in Western astrology, the sun enters the constellation of Pisces around the 19th of February each year, but actually the sun doesn't arrive into the constellation of Pisces until the 13th to the 15th of March each year, and Vedic astrology takes this into account because it's based on the fixed star positions, and Vedic astrologers use sidereal calculations. So as a result, Vedic astrology takes into account the actual positions of the constellations in the sky at any given time, and also considers the precession of the equinox, adjusting for the shift in the position of the equinoxes over time. But in terms of Western astrology follows the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons rather than fixed star positions. Western astrologers also do not directly account for the precession of the equinox in their calculations as well, so this results in slightly different calculations and interpretations that are given whether we're using Western astrology or Vedic astrology. So yeah, as I said, Western astrology uses specific dates, so every year, regardless of where the sun actually is at the sky, the sun moves into Pisces around the 19th of February. So yeah, this discrepancy, this misalignment between the tropical zodiac and the actual positions of the constellations has led to a discrepancy between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I consider the actual where the sun and the moon are and where Mars and Venus are at any given time, and this is how I formulate these sort of like weekly scopes. So yeah, thanks for listening to this, and let's dive into this week's weekly scope. Okay, so now I'm just going to explain what parallels and contra-parallels are in astrology, because I use them in my chart interpretation. So declination in astrology is the measure of how far a celestial body is, such as the sun, whether it's either north or south of the celestial equator. And the celestial equator is an imaginary line in the sky above the Earth's equator, which us astrologers use in our interpretation. So parallels happen when two planets are on the same declination, either both planets are on the north side side, or either both planets are on the south side, and this alignment increases the influence of the involved planets. So it's similar to a conjunction aspect, as it amplifies their energy, making the effects of the planets more pronounced. Contra-parallels, on the other hand, happen when two planets are on the same declination, but one is in the north and one is in the south. So this alignment creates tension, which is similar to an opposition aspect, and it can lead to conflict, challenges and inner struggles between the energies of the planets involved. So contra-parallels highlight areas of friction or contrast in our lives, urging us to find balance between the opposing forces at play. When transiting parallels and contra-parallels happen, they can sort of like trigger significant events, shifting consciousness and periods of intense growth and transformation. So I look at these aspects closely during chart analysis to understand how planetary energies interact and influence each other during a specific time frame, to pinpoint key periods for personal development, relationship dynamics or career shifts, and other shifts like karmic shifts and stuff like that. Because I just find using contra-parallels and parallels gives me more depth in interpretation, so I use them. So contra-parallels and parallels in astrology serve as markers for potential challenges or breakthroughs, guiding us towards more self-awareness, love, acceptance, understanding, forgiveness for ourselves and others, and shifts in consciousness and growth. So overall, just a shift in our mindset if we allow for it. So parallels and contra-parallels just kind of like provide valuable insights into the complexities and nuances of the astrological interactions between planetary movements. So yeah, that's the end of what contra-parallels and parallels are. Okay, so this week we've just got one aspect really influencing us for the entire week. Well, it enters on the 5th of September, so it's already influencing us from last week. It's exact at 2020, 2020 vision. So 20:20 PM on the 10th of September, and leaves us on the 16th of September. And the sun starts the week, continues the week as well. It moves into Virgo next week. So the sun's in Leo and the moon's north node is in Aquarius. So yeah, this is an intriguing week for us because solar opposition creates our destiny being at a crossroads, because we've got, the sun and the moon's north node. So, sort of like in opposition to each other in that contra-parallel, and that's controlling us all of this week, right? So we're dealing with a single powerful aspect that's going to have us questioning everything about our life path this week. And it's one of the most psychologically intense transits that we'll have to deal with this week. So ultimately, this is the universe holding up a mirror and asking some rather uncomfortable questions about whether we're actually living our truth or just going through the motions, I have been, practicing astrology for some years now, and I can tell you that the sun contra-parallel north node weeks are the ones that separate the spiritual tourists from the genuine spiritual seekers. So it's a proper intense energy that wants us to focus on our self-identity, how we express ourselves consciously, how that relates to our daily habits, our relationships, and how they sort of like tie into us achieving our goals in life and our higher purpose, so really, going in depth. And this is the best way possible. If you're ready to do the work, then you will get the rewards, so it creates what I call an astrological intervention, which will have us questioning who are we, who are you, sort of thing. And we can think of it like your ego is having a proper row, you know, argument with your higher consciousness, your soul, about which direction to go. So the Leo Sun wants recognition, creativity and individual expression, and the Aquarius North Node is demanding that we consider the collective good, humanitarian ideas, other people's needs, affection, and what we need to actually bring into this world to make it a better place for everyone, right? Still, you know, looking after your own emotional, psychological and spiritual and physical and financial needs. Of course, that's the foundation, but doing it in a way to not only benefit yourself, but to benefit the collective as well. So it's like being pulled between being a star, you know, getting fame, being, you know, centre of attention, getting loads of likes on social media, and being of service to others, genuine service, not just service that is fake so you can extort money and other things, energy from others, but being of service that uplifts others as you uplift yourself as well. So it lasts, this energy, nearly 2 weeks, and this tension builds up slowly and peaks and then slowly release. So ultimately, on the positive side, it gives us clarity about our life direction, as the tension forces us to, you know, examine, look at our true motivations. Contra-parallel aspects in astrology are the same as opposition, so they trigger deep, next level realizations about our soul's purpose, our life purpose, you know, highlighting different sides of ourselves, you know, because, you know, opposition, it's always, you know, one side pulling us in one direction, another side pulling us in a different direction, and this can be people, or it can be different, you know, sides of our personality. So it wants us to, you know, create platforms for influence and bring attention to the issues that need resolving within our individual life, so we can, you know, make the world a better place. That's the positive of it, right? It gives us leadership opportunities, but it can also make us drama queens as well. But sticking to the positives, it awakens our desire to serve others. It allows us to tap into that creative problem solving ability as well, motivating new solutions to problems. People can be drawn to our authenticity, us being real, you know, and authentic during this time, and you know, our personal charm, our magnetism increases, and we can see how our individual gifts can serve collective needs, you know, if we're really tapping into that future focused clarity and using the vision to uplift rather than destroy ourselves and others. Also, you know, it's a very karmic energy, so relationships, you know, people from our past lives or soul contracts can appear or reappear this week, or, you know, it doesn't have to be people from past lives, it can be people from your past coming back into your orbit over the next 2 weeks. For some of you, this may have happened, you know, at the close of last week. So because, you know, this opposition between our ego and soul can create confusion about who we really are. Negatively, we can have like identity crisis right now. We can have burnout from overgiving, also that's another negative, because the pull towards service may lead us to martyrdom tendencies, you know, just sacrificing ourselves too much. Ego resistance can happen because the Leo Sun might make us want us not let go of the need for personal recognition and fame and likes for ourselves, and, you know, you can be like, flip the collective, it's all about me, 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 me. Also, there can be an increase in soul suppressor. Others may not understand your internal struggle, and we can kind of just want to be perfectionists as well, and this can just lead to perfectionistic paralysis, because the desire to get your life direction right, and doing comments here, you can't see me, can freeze decision making. So I've experienced this a lot. We want to try and get everything perfect, our schedule down to a T, everything in balance, and that's the ultimate goal, right? But what I've learned is sometimes we just have to work within the chaos. Like right now, my life's in chaos, but I'm doing these weekly forecasts for you, you know, because I've learned that, you know, what is perfect, you know, as you can tell, I'm still learning to speak, I'm still learning to do a lot of things, but it's all about practicing in public and, you know, finding your niche and accepting yourself at the stage of your journey where you are, right? There can also be tension in our relationships as people may struggle with changing priorities this week, and we can have professional uncertainty because our career decisions become complicated when personal and collective needs can conflict, right? And there can be just a lot of emotional intensity this week as well, because the contra-parallel creates internal pressure that we need to let out healthily, but we may let it out in self-destructive ways, like, you know, turning to drugs, alcohol, intoxicating relationships, draining other people's energy, avoiding reality, right? So the key to dealing with this week energy is understanding that you don't have to choose between personal happiness and serving others. You need to find a bridge between them, you know, how to please you while pleasing others as well, but remembering that you can't please other people all the time, and sometimes, you know, all you can do is put yourself out there, whatever you got to say, and the right people who want to listen to the way you deliver that message will listen, and there will be people who don't want to hear what you got to say, and that's just part and parcel of life, right? So the Leo Sun's need for creative expression this week and recognition can serve the Aquarius North Node's core to benefit humanity this week. You know, think of it this way: a teacher who loves being in front of a classroom, that's Leo energy, right? Loving the limelight, but does it in a way that actually serves students' growth, and that's all Aquarius, right? Helping others, helping the collective. So, you know, if you enjoy the spotlight, you can use this platform to raise awareness about important causes, and this tension that we may feel this week isn't meant to tear us apart, you know, it's meant to allow us to integrate the contradictions and opposites in our life, and, you know, channel them into something greater than ourselves, while also recognizing our individual needs as well. Okay, so in terms of this week's mystical and relationship tea, as I said, it creates a proper crossroads for our professional life in terms of our career and business moves this week. We can find ourselves questioning whether our current career paths aligns with our soul purpose, and the Leo Sun wants recognition and creative expression, whilst the Aquarius North Node is asking whether your work actually benefits others. So if you're in a creative field, this weekly energy symbolises that it's time to consider how your skills and talents can serve a larger purpose. You know, for some of you, you may have been thinking about writing that novel. Perhaps it carries a message that could help heal others, you know. You may be thinking or for a long time, decades even, about building a business, and maybe it's time to incorporate more socially conscious practices into that business and launch it, or, you know, incorporate them into any existing businesses or business that you have. And remember, it's not about abandoning your goals and ambitions, you know, it's about increasing them to include social, humanitarian, collective concerns. And I've seen clients use this energy to launch social enterprises, start charitable foundations or community groups, you know, because it all starts from our community, our local neighbourhoods, right? And, you know, I've seen people change their careers towards healing professions under this energy. So in terms of our relationship, in terms of friendships, the Leo Sun wants us to be appreciated and celebrated by our friends, and the Aquarius North Node is wanting us to consider how we can better serve our community and friends, right? So we can have a tension between those two different needs, but we have to bring them together, you know, it's all about the balance, right? And our friends can challenge us to think beyond our personal interests and needs right now, or we may challenge our friends to think beyond their personal needs, right? And we can find ourselves drawn to group activities that serve a cause greater than individual entertainment. So that online book club or in-person book club could become a discussion group about social justice. Those dinner parties may grow into fundraising events for local charities, and the tension between individual expression and collective service can create interesting dynamics in romantic partnerships. In terms of our romantic relationships, the Leo Sun wants us to be appreciated and adored and loved, and the Aquarius North Node is asking us whether our relationship serves our highest growth and evolution and contributes to the greater good. Is your relationship toxic? Is it harming you and others and stopping you and others from growing? And this isn't about sacrificing romance for service. It's about finding partners who support your soul's mission while celebrating your unique gifts. And I've noticed that this energy, the Sun's contra-parallel to the North Node, often bring clarity about which relationships are truly aligned with our spiritual path and which ones are draining and energy vampiric to our progress, right? If you're self-partnered, it's brilliant energy for deep self-reflection and soul searching. Even if you're just single as well, it forces you to examine your motivations honestly and asks you, to question whether you're looking for external validation or following your authentic path. And the beauty isn't that you don't have to choose between them, you just have to integrate both energies. The Leo Sun that wants external validation and the Aquarius North Node that wants us to follow our authentic path. So the best use of this energy is, it demands honest self reflection, examination about why you do what you do. It wants us to explore service opportunities while questioning our motivations this week. That's the focus, right? Question why you do what you do. Find ways to use the Leo Sun energy for humanitarian purposes. Join group activities, that support community growth and involvement in collective action. Practice selfless leadership, Use your natural charm to inspire others and motivate them rather than just looking for attention, right? Examine your legacy. What are you actually building in your life? Is what you're building self-constructive or is it self-destructive, Think about how you want to be remembered, as when you leave this earth plane. Find that balance between gaining recognition, getting those likes and being of service to others. Find that sweet spot between personal happiness and helping others. Connect with like-minded people. Look out for others who share your vision for positive change, Trust in your intuition as it increases our ability to sense what's truly important and what's necessary to let go of or do more of, to follow your highest path and express your authentic self. Don't hide your light, but make sure it puts a spotlight on the path for others too, and be open to the tension. Use any internal conflict that comes up to motivate growth rather than resist it, So ultimately this week wants you to integrate ego and the soul, and the Sun contra-parallel North Node creates what we can call cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable tension between conflicting desires or beliefs. In this case it's the tension between wanting personal recognition and knowing you're called to serve something greater. So it's all about recognizing that healthy ego expression actually supports the soul's mission. You don't have to be a doormat to be spiritual. You need to use your unique gifts in the service of collective growth and evolution, So a lot of the time we experience cognitive dissonance because in our minds we know what we really want to do, but we're not doing it in our daily actions, right? And this can kind of bring conflict between, our need for wanting people to admire us, and then our need to serve others. So we may think we have to choose between either or, but no, it's about uniting things this week, uniting strengths and weaknesses across all areas of our life, but also letting go of things that are toxic to you, and realizing that only because you may be a nice or kind person or spiritual person doesn't mean that you allow other people to walk all over you and be like, oh wow, you know, I'm just ignoring negativity. Yeah, we shouldn't play into the negativity, but sometimes things are negative and we shouldn't spiritually bypass, you know. Sometimes we need to call a spade a spade. You're toxic for me, see you bye, that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, karmically, we're being asked to balance lifetimes of either excessive ego expression or excessive self-sacrifice. We may have spent a lot of incarnations, a lot of time in our current life swinging between these extremes, you know, going to please ourselves or pleasing others too much, you know. And right now we're ready or being asked to find a middle path between serving ourselves and our ego and expressing our self and sacrificing ourselves for others, right? Karmically, we need to learn that true leadership comes from serving others whilst maintaining your authentic self-expression. You're not meant to disappear into the collective. You're meant to shine your light in such a way that it puts a spotlight on the path for others. So in terms of the spiritual and esoteric meanings, it's a necessary initiation, right? It's a test, testing whether we're ready to use our personal power for spiritual purposes rather than just ego gratification. The esoteric meaning wants us to understand that individual and collective growth are, you know, linked intricately, and you can't have one without the other, right? Or we shouldn't have one without the other. Our personal growth and our service to humanity are not separate paths. They're two aspects of the same spiritual journey. But having said that, I should mention that this transit can feel quite emotionally intense as well. So we need to take that time to do healthy self-care, as we may find ourselves questioning everything about our life direction. And that's actually a good sign, you know, because this discomfort means that we're ready to go beyond who we were previously and to get outside of our comfort zone. So as I said, this energy started on the 5th of September, and we may have already started to feel that increase in tension, and by the 7th of September, the beginning of the week, we should likely feel like we're being pulled between our personal desires and our spiritual calling quite strongly. On the 10th at 20:20 p.m, when it becomes exact precisely, this astrological tension reaches its climax, and we're likely to experience breakthrough times about our authentic path, what it is, what we need to do to get there, making strategic plans, you know. Remember, it's step by step, slow and steady wins the race, right? And we can just have an increase in clarity that wasn't available about where we need to go. And as we go into the 11th to the 13th of September, it's time to start integrating insights that we've gained from thinking and begin taking concrete but slow steps towards aligning our personal lifestyle, routine and expression with our soul's purpose more and more. Also, I've noticed over the years that the contra-parallel aspects can create delayed reactions as well. So something may happen at the beginning of the week, and some of you may not react to the end of the week or even the coming weeks and months. You know, it can take a while for you to, you know, you may have the insight, yes, I need to end this relationship, then you may take you a while to actually end it. So don't force things, you know, but also do not purposely delay as well. If you feel like you've got the strength to let go, then let go. Ultimately, this week can change our perspective on our life direction. Although you may not fully understand the significance of this transit during this week, you know, it wants us to go above, transcend false beliefs and routines and lifestyles and relationships, and also, you know, sort of like integrate the differences, realizing they're not differences at all, but something that we need to do is balance serving ourselves with serving others, doing either, not too much. You know, we have to balance it, give to ourselves and give to others in an equal balanced way. And of course, it can take a while to find that balance as well. So be gentle with yourself as you get there, and forgive yourself for any past people pleasing or being egotistical in the past. You know, it isn't about, you know, hating on yourself or sacrificing your individuality. You're being asked to become a conscious leader who uses their personal gifts for collective benefit. For some of you, just be your household. For others, it be your local community, and for others, it be community online or in different spaces across the world. You know, so finding your level and what you really want to do with your energy, and expressing your uniqueness in ways that, you know, uplifts others as well as yourself. And the spiritual lesson is understanding our need for creative expression and recognition as well, and how we can use them to serve and benefit humanity as well. And it's changing. The key to maximizing this energy this week is changing from ego-driven motivations to soul-aligned purposes whilst maintaining our authentic self-expression. So in terms of questions that can help us with our reflection this week, we can ask ourselves, how can I use my unique talents and gifts to serve something greater than my personal desires? What does the Sun's contra-parallel North Node mean this week for my understanding of true leadership versus ego-driven ambition and leadership? And where in my life am I choosing personal recognition over authentic service? And how can I integrate both needs, the needs for recognition and the need to serve right, during this week? So yeah, now I'm just going to give guidance for all of the 12 Sun, Moon and Rising signs, right? So Aries, your natural leadership abilities are being called to serve collective causes this week. The Sun's contra-parallel to the North Node challenges you to consider whether your, you know, sense of adventure, your pioneering spirit that always wants newness, is serving your ego or your soul's mission, and it wants you to use your warrior fighter energy into, you know, fighting for causes that benefit others. Taurus, the Sun's contra-parallel to the North Node is asking you to look at whether your desire for security and comfort is preventing you from fulfilling your humanitarian calling. Your practical nature is needed for building, you know, long-term solutions to collective problems. Consider how your stability can serve as a foundation for others' growth. Gemini, your communication gifts are being increased, allowing you to use your tools, you know, for serving collective consciousness. The tension that may come up between your personal expression and serving others can manifest through writing, teaching or sharing information that helps others grow this week. Use your flexibility to bridge different communities and beliefs. Cancer, the nurturing energy of your sign is being called to increase beyond your immediate family and social circle, and consider how your emotional intelligence can serve the healing of collective wounds, and how you can, you know, understand and use your need to protect and care for others in a healthy way. Leo, the Sun's in your home sign, so you can feel this week's energy more intensely, because the Sun's contra-parallel to the North Node is the main aspect this week, right? And the Sun's in Leo. So your natural desire for recognition and creative expression is being challenged to serve something greater than your personal glory and gratification, you know. This is your time to become a conscious leader who inspires others through authentic self-expression. Virgo, your analytical skills and attention to detail are being called to serve collective healing during this week. The perfectionist tendencies that usually focus on personal improvement are being redirected towards creating systems that benefit everyone. Use your practical wisdom to solve humanitarian problems. Libra, your diplomatic nature and desire for harmony are being challenged to take a stand for collective justice during this week. The Sun's contra-parallel to the North Node asks whether your peacemaking abilities are serving truth or just avoiding conflict. Use your gift for balance to create fair solutions for all. Scorpio, your transformative abilities are being called to serve collective healing. The intensity of your nature, which is usually focused on personal transformation, is being redirected towards helping others heal and grow. Your psychological insights can serve as medicine for collective wounds. Sagittarius, your philosophical nature and love of truth are being challenged to serve collective wisdom. The knowledge you have gained through personal exploration, is meant to be shared with others who are creating their own path. Use your teaching abilities to guide others towards finding their truth and living their truth, Capricorn, your ambition and leadership abilities are being called to serve a collective goal. The routines you build and the authority you sort of wield and use should serve humanity's evolution rather than just personal advancement. Use your practical wisdom to create lasting change. Aquarius, this period is particularly significant for your soul's evolution. Your innovative nature and humanitarian instincts are being activated, but you're also being challenged to maintain your individual expression while serving collective needs. This is your time to model conscious leadership. Pisces, your intuitive abilities and compassionate nature are being called to serve collective healing. It wants you to develop a deep understanding of sacrifice and service, and remember that your empathetic gifts can help others deal with their own spiritual awakening, but remember to maintain healthy boundaries and look after your own needs as well. So in terms of mantras for each of the sun, moon and rising signs this week: Aries, I lead with courage and my conviction, using my pioneer spirit to create positive change for all. My individual strength serves a collective good. Taurus, I build stable foundations that support both my growth and the community's needs. My practical wisdom creates security for everyone. Gemini, I communicate with purpose and truth, using my words to bridge understanding and serve collective consciousness. My versatility creates relationships that heal. Cancer, I nurture from abundance, extending my care beyond my inner circle to heal collective wounds. My emotional intelligence serves the greater good. Leo, I express my authentic self in service of the collective evolution. My creative gifts and leadership abilities inspire others to shine their own light. Virgo, I use my analytical skills and attention to detail to create systems that serve everyone. My practical wisdom solves problems for the collective good. Libra, I create balance and harmony while standing firm in my truth. My diplomatic nature serves justice and fairness for all. Scorpio, I transform myself and others through deep truth and healing work. My intensity serves collective evolution and spiritual growth. I share my wisdom and truth to guide others on their spiritual journey. My philosophical nature serves collective understanding and growth. Capricorn, I build lasting structures that serve humanity's growth. My ambition and leadership create positive change for generations to come. Aquarius, I innovate for humanity's benefit while maintaining my unique perspective. My humanitarian nature serves collective awakening and progress. Pisces, I serve others with compassion and wisdom while maintaining healthy boundaries. My intuitive gifts help heal collective wounds and guide spiritual evolution. So in terms of content to create this week, it's a fascinating opportunity for content creators, particularly those who've been struggling with the balance between personal branding and serving their audience needs, to examine your motivations and align your content with your soul's purpose. It's time to ask yourself whether your content serves your ego's need for recognition or your audience's genuine growth and evolution. This isn't about abandoning your personality or unique voice, it's about using your individual expression to serve something greater. The Leo energy supports being courageous and bold and creating creative content that sort of showcases your authentic self and benefits the community and confronts collective concerns as well. The sweet spot is content that does both simultaneously at the same time, you know, serving your need for recognition and being your authentic self and also benefiting others. It's a particularly powerful week for launching content that looks into social issues, humanitarian concerns or collective healing. Your audience is ready for deeper, more meaningful content that goes beyond entertainment to actual transformation. Consider content that challenges both you and your audience to grow. Share your own journey of balancing personal desires with service to others. Be vulnerable about your struggles with ego versus, you know, your soul calling. This authenticity can resonate deeply during this week. Live content, community discussions and team working projects are really favoured this week. Working with others, you know, supporting others and building genuine community around shared values and collective growth. Remember, the goal isn't to become a selfless saint, it's to become a conscious creator who uses their platform to inspire positive change while maintaining their own authentic voice and creative expression. So now I'm just going to go through, you know, the aspects and events that happen each day this week and how they add to this week's vibe, you know. So on the 7th of September we have the full supermoon lunar eclipse in Aquarius, and yes, of course, I have done an in-depth special about this, yeah, so check that out. But in short, the full supermoon lunar eclipse in Aquarius brings powerful emotional clarity and collective awakening that can trigger dramatic endings or emotional overwhelm. It's best used to release what no longer serves and, you know, be open to new perspective. This is a day of increased awareness, sudden insights and emotional release. If you're wondering what does a full moon lunar eclipse mean for me, ultimately it's about letting go of the past and what's ever getting in your way of being your best self, taking the steps day by day to do so, you know. It's a day of tapping into generational ancestral wisdom and, you know, working on your personal transformation so you can step into a new vision for your future. It's about breaking free from old patterns and honouring your unique path, you know. And ultimately it's about being liberated from all that's holding you back, increasing your self-love, forgiveness and awareness, releasing emotional baggage and welcoming new possibilities. You know, expect the unexpected and don't be surprised if you feel both raw, emotionally vulnerable and inspired and happy at the same time. So ultimately it can bring sudden clarity. We can release old habits, especially toxic thoughts and toxic ways of relating to ourselves and others. It's great for group healing as well. We can have emotional breakthroughs, as I said, positively. Negatively, we can become emotionally overwhelmed. It can bring sudden endings. We can feel exposed and vulnerable, and it can bring tension in friendships and all relationships. So the best use of today's lunar eclipse full moon rite is to let go of what's holding you back, meditate on your future vision, connect with supportive groups and honour your emotions. Work and relationships can reach a turning point. Be honest and open to change, and group projects can really benefit from fresh ideas but avoid drama. In terms of, you know, the Jungian shadow push question, you can ask yourself, what truth about your place in the collective are you afraid to face, and how might being open to it set you free? So in terms of integrating today's energy, write down what you're ready to release and burn or bury it. Spend time with friends who support your growth. Practice deep breathing to stay grounded during emotional sort of like flows and feeling overwhelmed. So today is a day of healing and sensitivity. The moon's north node going direct adds to us being able to renew and review our soul's direction and align our karmic path. The moon void, of course, helps us to self-reflect. For some of you, it's not good to start new things while the moon's void, of course, for the short time it is today. Venus's sextoquadrant to Neptune increases our compassion and creativity, but it can also add to the confusion this week in love or money, and make us want to escape into our addictive substances more, you know, because we've got Venus and Neptune in a tense aspect, you know, so we can overspend in love and, you know, to sort of like feel more self-worth as well. So we have to try and get our self-worth today from, you know, things that are within our budget and from within, if we can. It's best used for creative and spiritual plans, this energy, and when the moon enters Pisces, it increases our intuition and empathy, but also can blur our boundaries. Once again, Neptune rules Pisces, right? So it's like a double energy that can make us want to ignore red flags and be open to manipulation or manipulate others, or overindulge in hookups and intoxicating substances and people, you know. The best use of this energy over the next few days, the moon in Pisces, is to use it for creative and healing work. Mercury sextoquadrant to Chiron helps us to have those healing conversations over the next few days, but can also add to us being psychologically, emotionally and spiritually overwhelmed as those old traumas resurface, you know. This energy can help us with those honest self-reflection and conversations that are needed, and it's, you know, a nice, gentle but emotionally charged day, and we need to balance our dreams with reality and see through illusions and find a deeper meaning, you know. We can hope and long for better things in our life, and it symbolises sacrifice and faith, and it allows us to, you know, really solve our problems creatively today and trust our intuition while staying grounded. So ultimately today is a great day for self-reflection, having more compassion, being creative, being honest, and, you know, really connecting to our spirituality as well. But don't force clarity or anything, let it come up naturally, you know. So ultimately, although we can experience confusion in relationship, escapism and feeling ungrounded, it's a great day for emotional release, healing conversations, creative inspiration and spiritual insight. Its best use is today spend some time in meditation or journaling, expressing yourself creatively, practicing forgiveness of self and others, and taking some time out for self-care, rest, so you can recharge your batteries, right? So ultimately, you know, our work, our careers today can benefit from creative thinking. We should avoid making big decisions, but we should be honest and gentle at the same time in our honesty as well. In terms of the Jungian shadow question, we can ask, where do you escape into fantasy to avoid pain, and how can you bring more compassion to your reality? In terms of integrating this energy, you know, create something spiritual or creative, practice a loving kindness meditation, and reach out to someone for a healing chat, even if it's just the Samaritans in the UK, you know, a helpline that can help you with your psychological, emotional health, or, you know, any other kind of helpline, or a friend or family member you can trust, you know. On the 9th of September, the Sun makes a sextoquadrant to Pluto, and the Sun's in Leo and Pluto's in Capricorn. Mercury makes a contra-parallel to Mars, and this leaves on the 11th. And Mars is in Virgo and Mercury's in Leo right now, and Venus makes a quincunx to the Moon's North Node, and Venus is in Cancer and the Moon's North Node is in Aquarius. So the Sun's sextoquadrant to Pluto reveals hidden power struggles and can trigger control issues, but it's best used for facing our fears and transforming challenges. It increases our mental energy and assertiveness, but negatively it can add to the arguments that can come up this week, so it's best used for direct communication. Venus's quincunx to the moon's north node can bring fated relationships, so adding to the sun's contra-parallel to the north node. That can also do this as well, but it can also add to the uncertainty and tension that is happening all throughout this week, you know, but also helps us to realign our values, our beliefs with our authentic path. It's an intense day, but also transformative. The sun's tension with Pluto allows us to face what we've been hiding from and not being afraid to do so. It's about reclaiming your power and letting go of control, and, you know, taking those risks and having the courage to do so, and sort of like allowing yourself to sort of like not be afraid of the dark and the secrets, you know, to face them, to transform them, to, you know, build on your self-love and forgiveness and awareness, especially in your personal relationships. It allows us to let go of what no longer fits in our life as well, and, you know, face our shadow and make the necessary changes. So positively, yeah, it's all about personal empowerment, relationship growth, but negatively it can add to the power struggles this week and arguments and emotional intensity and uncertainty in relationships. The best use of this energy is to speak your truth, face your fears, change your plans, and practice self-acceptance. So in terms of our work, it wants us to stand our ground, but also respect other people's boundaries in the workplace. Also wants us to be willing to compromise, you know, and be honest about our needs in all relationships. In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, we can ask ourselves, where do you give your power away to avoid conflict, and how can you reclaim your power with integrity? So we can use this energy of today by setting and respecting healthy boundaries, reflecting on your deepest motivations, and having direct, honest conversations. So a lot of energy this week is wanting us to face the truth, stand our ground, set boundaries, respect other people's boundaries, uncover our true motivations and authentic wants and needs, right? On September the 10th, the moon void of course starts at 7:54 a.m. The moon enters Aries at 11:34 a.m. The moon's north node goes retrograde at 8:03, and the sun's contra-parallel and opposition to the moon's north node is exact at 20:20 p.m, right? And the sun's in Leo and the moon's north node is in Aquarius, yeah. So again, the moon void of course is great for self-reflection. When the moon enters Aries, it can really motivate us to, you know, make that change and have courage while making changes, but it can add to the impatience of the week and overstepping people's boundaries and the impulsiveness, right? The best use of this energy is to start something new. The moon's north node going retrograde wants us to, you know, rethink our path, review our life, and to think about, you know, why we are alive and what we really want to fulfill with the rest of our lives. The sun's opposition to the moon's north node and the sun's contra-parallel to the moon's north node, which are the same thing basically. As I said, it wants us to sort of like, you know, find that balance between serving ourselves and serving others. It creates tension between our past and future. It's best used for making conscious choices. It intensifies the need for us to align with our authentic self by bringing in a conflict, but it's best used for integrating our purpose and understanding ourselves and being honest. It wants us to choose between our old habits and new growth, sort of like finding that balance within that, stepping into our destiny, transforming the things that need to change by being open to change and trusting in the journey. It wants us not to be afraid to let go of the past and move forward, you know, and making choices that shape our future. You know, so everything that happens this week can really have an impact in the coming years, you know, so choose wisely. It's all about positively new beginnings, finding that clarity of purpose, the courage to change, but it can lead to indecision, inner conflict, the fear of the unknown. It wants us to, you know, reflect on our life direction. That's the best use of this energy, taking a bold step forward, realizing what's holding you back and trusting your intuition. In terms of our work and relationships, we can reach a crossroads. As I said this week, the tagline for this week is, the crossroads of our path. In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, we can ask ourselves, what old story about our destiny are we ready to rewrite? And what new path calls to you now? So to integrate this energy, meditate on your life purpose, take one action towards a new goal, release an old habit that no longer serves you. On the 11th of September, Venus makes a semi-sextile to Jupiter, and Venus is in Cancer and Jupiter's in Gemini. The moon enters its disseminating moon phase at 2:59 a.m. and Mercury makes a sesquiquadrate to Pluto at 5:11 a.m. So again, Venus is semi-sextile to Jupiter brings luck and generosity to this super full moon eclipse in Aquarius, right? Lunar eclipse. So it adds generosity to this week, but it can lead to overindulgence. It's best used for sharing and celebrating. The disseminating moon phase over the next few days helps us share wisdom with others or receive wisdom from others, but we can feel scattered. It's best used for teaching and spreading ideas. And Mercury, sesquiquadrate to Pluto, deepens our mental focus, but it can bring up obsessiveness, jealousness, and there can be power struggles as well and trouble with finances as well. It's best used for honest conversations and research. So as I said, this week is really about speaking your truth, and others may speak a truth that you don't want to hear, because sometimes we don't. That's why we live in our fantasy worlds, right? Because we're afraid of the truth because it can hurt us. That's why they say the truth hurts, but it's about having the courage to read the writing on the wall and to seek the truth, say the truth, and to sort of like work through the truth, Venus's link to Jupiter today brings a lot of generosity and optimism, allowing us to sort of like take the truth on the chin, to take it more lightheartedly, it increasing our heart chakra energy and our ability to think, so Venus semi-sextile Jupiter is really helping us with that abundance and learning and being able to have that courage to go deep within ourselves and our relationships, and facing our fears and truth with an open mind, balancing joy and honesty. And today's energy is helping us to grow if we're willing to go deep and share our truth, so ultimately today is a day of generosity with Jupiter, making us, feel happy even through the pain, supporting us in going deep in our insights and, seeking out learning opportunities. But we just need to watch out for the power struggles of indulging, overspending, the scattered focus, spreading ourselves thin, doing too much at once, and also the emotional intensity that can make us say things that we don't actually mean. The best use of this energy is to practice gratitude, share knowledge, dive deep into research and celebrate your achievements. Even if you feel you haven't come as far as you wanted in life, just celebrating where you are at now, So ultimately it's about being generous but clear about your needs, In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask yourself, where do you hold yourself back? And hold your showing off your gifts, using your gifts out of fear, and how can you share more of yourself? In terms of integrating this energy, you can teach or share something practice gratitude for abundance, have an honest conversation about your needs as well. On the 12th of September, Mercury makes an opposition to the moon's north node. The moon void, of course, starts at 7:59 a.m. The sun makes a sextile to Jupiter. The moon enters Taurus. The sun makes a biquintile to Chiron, and Mercury makes a sextile to Jupiter. So today adds to the healing and communication of this week, but we just need to watch out for misunderstandings. It helps us to bring clarity about our needs and what we really want. A lot of conversations can feel fated today, like they were meant to happen as well. The sun sextile to Jupiter increases our optimism and opportunities for change, but we just need to watch out for overconfidence and making sure that we take positive action. The moon in Taurus grounds our emotion, giving that much needed grounded that we need this week as we close down the week, right? But it can increase stubbornness and jealousy. The best use of this energy over the next few days is to do things that are practical. The Sun's biquintal to Chiron is subtle energy, but it helps with healing and self-acceptance. Although it can add to old wounds coming up, it's best used for creative self-expression. And Mercury's sextile to Jupiter increases our learning and communication, but can cause information overload. It's best used for sharing ideas and just focusing on growing and healing and having more sort of like self-love and acceptance. Jupiter's energy adds to the optimism of this week as well, and you know, us being open to change and being able to have those creative breakthroughs and healing conversations. But again, we just need to watch out for information overload, misunderstandings and overconfidence as well. Ultimately, the best use of today's energy is to practice self-acceptance, share your ideas, take positive action and ground your emotions, and work with others when you can, you know. And healing can be possible in our relationships through honest conversation. So as I said, honesty is the key for this week, you know. And in terms of the question you can ask yourself today, you can ask, where do you resist growth out of fear, and how can you be open to new possibilities? Integrating this energy can be by sharing your story with someone you trust, practicing gratitude for your growth, and taking one step towards a new opportunity. So on the 13th of September, the last day of this week, Mercury makes a biquintal to Chiron. Chiron's in Aries, Mercury's in Leo. The Sun makes a conjunction to Mercury, and the Sun and Moon are both in Leo. Mars enters Libra, and I've done a long special about this, so if you want to check out the playlist, it will be there. Mars makes a biquintal to the Moon's North Node, and Venus makes a biquintal to Saturn. So nice subtle energy. And so Mercury's biquintal to Chiron inspires healing insights, and again helps us to solve our problems creatively. The Sun's conjunction to Mercury increases our mental clarity and focus and communication, but we just need to watch out for the overthinking this brings. It's a good energy to share ideas. Mars in Libra motivates a new cycle of balance and partnership, but can also add to the indecision that we can feel this week. It's best used for teamwork and negotiation and repairing problems in relationship and compromising, right? Mars is biquintal to the Moon's North Node, and Venus is biquintal to Saturn are both sort of energy that can help us strengthen our commitment as we align our action and words with our destiny. But we can sort of like be restless as well because of these energy. The best use of this energy is to be disciplined in love and money and take purposeful action. Although this energy, especially Venus's biquintal to Saturn, can make us feel restrictive, it is best used for building long-lasting foundations, habits and routines and relationships into your life as well, allowing relationships and fairness to take central stage today, and being open to new beginnings and balanced action as well, and finding harmony in actions, and allowing yourself to, you know, start afresh. You know, this week may have been a hectic week. You may have heard truths you didn't want to hear, but if you're willing to, you know, create new partnerships and new ways of doing things, and be open to the creative insights and make balanced sort of like decisions and stand firm in your commitments, then you can overcome the challenging effects of overthinking and indecision that today's energy can bring, and the restlessness and the feeling restricted. You know, it's all about trying to work with the chaos and work with the restrictions rather than allowing them to become obstacles and stop you. You know, yeah, you may not be able to take 10 steps, but you can take one, right? So the best use of this energy is to start a new project or relationship, practice teamwork, weigh your options up carefully and commit to your goals, work with others and negotiate with others, look for balance and fairness in all that you do, don't rush decisions. You can ask yourself, where do you avoid taking action for fear of upsetting the balance, and how can you move forward in your life with grace and compassion and self-love and respect, you know? So you can practice mindful decision making in today and reflect on where you need more balance in your life today, and maybe start something new with yourself, a partner or a team, you know. So this week is all about facing your truth and being open to others' truth. So yeah, that's the end of this weekly scope from the 7th to the 13th of September. Take care and see you next time.